Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Tales from the Midnight Diary. My name's Gemma and I'm coming to you from my home in Kent where I live with my husband, 2 cats, dog and little boy Robin. I have actually already recorded this podcast once and I had like a little bit at the end that I'd forgotten to talk about, the actual Tales from bit. For those of you who don't know, if you're new here, welcome. This is a creative video podcast where I share what I'm making, primarily in knitting and crochet. There's often some other crafty rabbit holes chucked in, but also behind the scenes life here at the diary I run from my home in Kent. So I'm an indie dyer, I put colour onto bare yarns, and I also design patterns and teach. So I'd kind of forgotten the important bit, and the reason being was I was actually trying to record it during nap time. My son had just gone down in the crib that is here beside me in the cradle, but less than 3 minutes into recording he woke up and he was quite happy. He was just there and he was yawning very dramatically at key points and cooing, and it wasn't that the noises he was making were terribly sort of impactful on the video itself. It's made yes, but I was constantly sort of looking over at him and it interrupted the flow, and I was incredibly tired that day and I kept making loads of stupid mistakes with things that I was saying. I might include some outtakes from the original podcast edit at the end of this. So my husband is napping, my baby is napping upstairs. At the moment we had planned on taking him swimming today. This is now Saturday the 12th of August, no, March. Wow, I'm tired. Saturday the 12th of March. We had planned on taking Robin for his first swimming session today, but napping apparently is happening instead. He's having what they call a leap week, like developmental leap. Honestly, the things you learn. And it's like I've got a different baby between like the start of the week and now. He's just doing so many different things. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with baby talk. So suffice to say, I thought I'd sit down and record the last 5 minutes of the podcast again. And then I thought, well, I've got time. It only took me 20 minutes to record the first lot, so I might as well see if I can record the whole thing again and make it a little bit more coherent for you. Wait. Who am I trying to kid? You don't come here for professional, you come here for real, and I am more than happy to bring it to you. Roll credits. Hello and welcome to episode 25, I want to say, of Tales from the Midnight Diary. My name's Gemma, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm not usually so quietly spoken, but my 4-month-old is napping in the crib just beside me, and so I don't want to wake him up. I'm going to turn the general channel volume of this recording up on the podcast itself on YouTube. So if you are a regular viewer and you're thinking, God blimey, Gem, this is loud, that's what's happening. So I've turned the actual bass volume up so that the fact that I'm being quite quietly spoken shouldn't actually have too much of an impact. So yeah, if you're new here, welcome. I'm the dyer, designer, tutor, all-around dog's body behind the Midnight Dyery indie dyed yarn company, which I run from my home here in Kent, where I live with my husband, my 2 cats, my dog and my little boy. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you for coming back each time. It means more than you could possibly know. So what's occurring today and what this podcast is about, if you're new here, is it's a video podcast, so technically I guess it's a vlog. I think it's okay. Let's go back to sleep. It's about the things that I make, primarily knitting and crocheting, although sometimes some sewing, baking, other crafty rabbit holes thrown in. Today it's about knitting, and I'll be sharing the projects I'm working on, and I'll be sharing some finished objects with you, and also giving you some exciting behind the scenes stuff from the Midnight Diary. So, I mean, the podcast is called Tales from the Midnight Diary. Oops. Yeah, the podcast is called Tales from the Midnight Diary, and that is because I often share behind the scenes at life at the diary, and now, because I'm getting ready to come back from maternity leave, I have actually been back at the dye pots. I've got some stuff that's secret that I can't show you, but I've got some stuff that I can talk to you about and show you pictures of a little bit later in the podcast as well, so I hope you stick around for that. Little bear is well and truly awake, so we may end up not recording this. I'm wearing no knitwear at all today, not even on my feet. I'm wearing a big baggy comfy t-shirt because frankly it's the last one clean. Shh, 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 shh. You're okay. Mummy's here. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay, pickle bags. Yeah, because tomorrow's wash day, and I'm using my husband's PlayStation mug, which was a Christmas gift from my brother-in-law to him, well, from his brother to him, and I'm using it not just because it's one of the last few clean mugs in the house, but because it's the biggest mug in the house and I need all the coffee. Welcome to the Hot Mess Express. Yeah, you're very much, this is, if you're new here, this is a podcast where you kind of take me as you find me. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not, and you do get a little bit of reality here. So yeah, not everyone has finished objects every week, not everyone has beautiful Insta-worthy yarn stashes, and you know, sometimes things get frogged, sometimes we don't wear knitwear. It's not a rule, it's not a thing. Coffee should be a rule. Coffee should definitely be a rule. So, I have 3 finished objects for you again this week, having just said that we don't necessarily have finished objects. Oh, admin, let's start with admin. So, make-alongs. We are in March, the final quarter of the year, which means the Midnight Make-along will be drawing its first prizes in a couple of weeks. So if you are using my yarn, if you finished something since the start of the year in my yarn, or used one of my designs, do make sure you use the hashtag Midnight Make-along. I'll be putting a reminder on my Instagram as well. This is an Instagram make-along. I will be looking into other platforms as the year goes on for doing other make-alongs, but for now I just need things to be a little bit simple with as little admin as possible. So thank you for understanding. So yeah, I'll be drawing prizes quarterly, and you get to choose a skein of my yarn. I'll dye it up for you if I don't have it in stock. You might have to wait a little while, but you'll get it. So there's that. The other one is the Midnight Labradors mini make-along, which is I'm hosting with Karen of the Knitting and Labradors podcast, a new podcast on the block. She knits absolutely beautiful things. She also has a wee one, and she's a nice person as well, which is always good. We've been chatting a bit behind the scenes, and when she started her podcast and saw me knitting for my little boy, she said that she was inspired to start knitting for her little boy as well. And so basically this is anything for kiddies. I'm not really sure that we're being particularly strict about the rules. I'm inclined to say whips count. It's March to May. Anything for little ones, and it could be toys, could be garments, could be accessories, just all things little, and for March to May. So that's going on Instagram, and I don't know if there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be a Ravelry thing, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be on Facebook either. I think we're just going to do it on Instagram, but I will confirm with you. So yeah, join in with that one. The third make-along that I blame my knit and sip and stitches entirely for. So I run 2 completely free Zoom socials a week. We have Sip and Stitch on a Wednesday, which is 8 till late, and we have a coffee morning on a Sunday, which is slightly more, yeah, we do a lot of that, a lot of yawning. It is slightly more chill. We're in our pyjamas potentially quite often, and it's generally a bit more relaxed, and that's 10 till noon, but lots of us tend to hang on a bit longer and just one more row. and they've been being looked after for me by the amazing P and Ali while I've been on maternity leave and struggling to get into a routine. So P is hosting Wednesday nights at the moment, and Ali is hosting Sunday mornings, which she's doing while preparing for the gang show and doing all sorts of wonderful things. Anyway, they decided in their wisdom to set up a group chat on Instagram for people who wanted to be a part of that and for the regulars. And oh my God, are we in trouble? So it started with, I can't remember how this one started exactly. Suffice to say, ended up sharing, talking about fancy crochet blankets. So like the Sophie's Universe and the Charlotte's Universe. Sophie Swan hosted the Sophie Swan blanket finish along. I think last year, I might have got that title wrong. Ironically, she didn't finish her Sophie, which was the whole point of her hosting the podcast. But you know, I'm the great unfinisher of things. Unfinisher? Non-finisher? Unfinisher of things. So there is absolutely zero judgment from me. So yeah, so I started looking on Pinterest at fancy schmancy crochet blankets, because there is so much more out there than granny squares. I mean, I love a granny square, don't get me wrong. I love a granny square. I need one on my hook. Granny stripe, more about that later. Neat ripple, there's more out there. There are some really amazing crochet blankets. I'm quite taken with a monochrome Rosetta blanket that I saw on Pinterest. So everyone started sharing these, and our lovely friend Erin is going to be a grandma for the first time, which is so exciting. So we're all excited about all the small things. And yeah, so I stupidly said maybe we need a fancy schmancy crochet blanket along. And that's what we're doing, and it's being hosted not just by myself but by Sophie Swan of the Spring Snowflake podcast and Maddie of the House of Langford podcast. So there's 3 podcasts to get involved with. We haven't sort of finalised how we're going to do this yet, but the hashtag is fancy schmancy blanket along, and it's going to run for a whole year. So basically the 3 of us have got time to get our act together and decide how we're hosting this. I think Sophie has the Mighty Networks group. I've got the Facebook group as well. I'm not sure what Maddie has. We're not using Ravelry. I just think it's simpler. I think with the various other platforms, we're going to give everyone an opportunity to join in. So yeah, there's that. So that's 3 make-alongs. And if that's not enough for you, there is also the ongoing Squirrel Along, which is hosted by Laura of Athis Yarns. Do go and check out her beautiful yarns and give her a follow. She is up to her eyeballs in dissertation work at the moment, so huge good luck to her. Send her all the good wishes, everyone, and keep everything crossed, because that'd be tough. And yeah, go give her a follow. So 4 people for you to check out this week. He's currently smiling at the animals on his crib mobile, so he might start talking to them. Consider yourself warned. Right, on to finished objects. So I have 3 finished objects for you this week, only one of which I have with me. Let's start with the first finished object. I finished my little simple baby vest. Now this is going to be a pattern that I write up. I'm starting to do the maths, but I'm learning fast that planning things with a tiny one, it ain't a thing. So I had planned to do the maths last week, and last week was a hell of a week. It just didn't happen. I'm currently working on the 6 to 12 month size, which I'm not going to show you because A, I haven't made any progress, and B, it's over there and I'm over here and my coffee's here, and yeah, I'm in a corner. I'm kind of hemmed in and trapped. Yeah, so there is that. I'll put a picture up here. It's been gifted to the person, the intended recipient, or the parents of the intended recipient, and they are really pleased with it, which is lovely. And I've got some testers lined up already to do the sizes up to, it's going up to 7 years initially, 7 or 8 years, and I will be getting that out soon. I'm doing the maths for them all. I'm doing the 6 to 12 month size at the moment for my little boy, and yeah, I think I'm pretty happy. The cable that you see up the front on this is actually going to get bigger. It's only a 4-stitch cable, as in like at the point where they cross over each other. It's only 4 stitches, which is fine on a little teeny tiny baby vest, and it's actually fine on the 6 to 12 months. But as you get bigger, that little cable detail is going to be completely lost and not have the same sort of look. So it will actually, the cable pattern itself will actually change as the sizes get bigger. It's straight up and down in the round up until the neckline, and then it's back and forth for the 2 neck pieces, shoulder front pieces, the shoulder front bit. And the back as well, and then it's a 3 needle bind off, and you pick up in the round and do the ribbing, and yeah, simple as that really. Really like it. The yarn I've used is Sirdar Snuggly Baby Crofter DK, which is an acrylic yarn. It's self-patterning. You're having fun, aren't you? While he's having fun, we will carry on having fun as well. At the point he starts to decide this is no longer fun, we will have to end, and I will come back and record this another day, probably looking completely different, but we're just working with it at the moment. So my sample for Robin is actually being worked in my hand-dyed yarn, my hand-dyed Merino DK, in the colourway Afternoons, which is named for a Philip Larkin poem. Lots of my autumn-winter 2019 collection, bless you, were named for poems. Are you happy, boy? Good boy, good boy. Yeah, were named for poems, and I don't think I can edit out the sounds that he's making. I don't have that video editing skill, so if this isn't your jam and hearing him cooing in the background is just too distracting, I totally understand. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But so yeah, I'll see you another time if that's the case, and yeah, I'm sorry. If however you don't mind and can bear with, then we will continue. So yeah, in Afternoons colourway, and that's going to be coming back. More on shop news later. My next finished object I also don't have. I said I absolutely want them. You can't have them until I've podcast. And these are the Robin socks that I knit for my husband. So these are self-striping from Helen of Giddy Yarns in the Robin Redbreast colourway. And as soon as I saw it on a friend's D-stash, I knew I had to have it. It's so hard to grab Helen's gobstopper balls of self-striping when she does her updates. The planets haven't aligned for me yet, but I saw this one on Robin on a friend's D-stash, and I knew I had to have it, and it didn't even make it into stash. I think I held off for 2 weeks while I finished something else and then cast on. So I have finished my husband's Robin Redbreast socks, and I got him to put them on to model them for me so I could take nice pictures. Thank goodness, because here are the pictures now. And he left. He voted with his feet, as it were, and walked off with them. Am I boring you? He voted with his feet and walked off with them, despite my saying, no, you can't have them till after I podcast. Now, they are cream socks. He has black trainers. Suffice to say, I have got them. They are not on his feet, but I'm not holding them up for you now. He loves them, which is lovely, and it's made... Yes, we're going to talk about yours now. Yes, we are. Yeah. So it's great. It's great to have people that are really knit worthy and love the hand knit socks. It's giving me all the sock mojo at the moment. But again, I don't know how I've managed this. Like, I'm knitting socks, with the exception of Robin, for people with much, much bigger feet than me. So that's a lot more knitting. I should be knitting socks for me, but it gives me so much pleasure to knit socks for the other people in my life. And Mr. Midnight Dyery, as I said, is quite happy with his socks and wants more socks, and so yeah, there will be more socks on this channel. So this brings me to my third and final finished object of the fortnight, and that is my pair of mini Robin socks. So these are socks we discovered, Mina and I have quite a tight gauge, and I'll come to that in a minute. What I did was I counted the stitches that my friend Mina had cast on. Can't find the other sock at the moment. There was a sock knocking around. Mina knit Robin some socks when I said that he was growing out of his box of socks that my friend Jo gave him. And so I sort of counted the stitches, and I cast on and knit a sock and realised that actually my gauge must be much tighter, because it wouldn't go up his legs properly. So I said to Jude, my friend, I was like, okay, I've got to the point of kitchening this sock. Do I just say, never mind, he gets one wear and finish it? Or do I rip back? in the end I decided to frog back, and we have a teeny tiny sock with a nice big chunky calf. I will sew this ribbing bit up. I always do my rib flat to start with. I did a slip stitch heel and gusset. I can't see what I'm showing you because the camera is actually back facing. And heel flap. The gusset I actually decreased every single round, and I decreased further because his feet aren't actually, in proportion to his calves, his feet are actually smaller. I think he's going to have quite small feet like me. Yeah, I know, I'm casting aspersions about your feet. So then I cast on the second sock, and this is where I started using a tip by Helen of Giddy Yarns, and I'll come to that shortly. So this one is actually slightly different to this one because I worked the decreases on the top of the foot a little bit as well. But they fit. I have got some pictures of him trying them on when I was putting them, when I finished the first one, trying to hold a 4-month-old foot still to take pictures is nigh on impossible. And I get the foot on, I get the heel in the right position, I'd hold his leg to take the picture, and he'd point his toes, which is super cute, but it has the impact of just bringing everything up, and it looked like they didn't fit. It's like, ah, you're ruining the look, kid. So he hasn't worn his yet. I only cast off the second one yesterday, and actually it was really sweet. He was lying on his playmat and I was casting it off, and I'll come to why in a minute, why I was in such a rush to cast it off. Do you want your okay, I'll come to why I was in such an almighty rush. Why I was in such an almighty rush to cast it off shortly. But I was actually doing it while he was playing on his playmat yesterday morning and doing the Kitchener stitch, and he was just watching me, and I was talking to him about the Kitchener stitch. I was like, so we knit on, we purl, knit off, and purl on, and purl off, and knit on, and yeah, it was really sweet. So yeah, give it a few months, he'll be knitting socks, I reckon. Yeah, I absolutely love them, and I still have a little bit of the yarn left over, which is great. So I'm not sure if I'm going to start him a Cozy Memories patchwork blanket, or something like that. I've yet to decide what to do with the leftovers, because these socks, when he grows out of them, will be part of his advent calendar that I'm creating him, with the box of socks that Jo knit for him originally. I think I talk about that in another episode, so I'm not going to talk about that too much here. So what happens when you cast off one sock? You immediately cast on another one. And so I hand wound this because I didn't want to use my ball winder on. I didn't want to disturb him. He has no such qualms about disturbing me, honestly. So this was 80s Tree Lights by Truly Hooked. It's a sparkly high twist merino nylon base, and these are for my friend Julia, who has been on the podcast before under the project bag. She wanted to do episode 50 and I stopped at episode 49, so bless her, she's waiting patiently. Maybe we'll get her on for episode 30 of Tales from the Midnight Diary, who knows. And I was fine to do this and talk about it on the podcast because she doesn't actually watch the podcast. So I was like, oh great, I can work on this, this is fantastic, yeah, hooray. So it was a 2-part Christmas present. Christmas 2020, I bought her the yarn, and the reason being she'd knit herself some socks and they'd had a washing machine accident and come to an ucky mucky end. So I thought, well, I will knit you socks. She's always making things for other people. She's always making things for other people, and I wanted to make something for her. So 2-part present. 1 part, here's the yarn, you will have a pair of socks. Second part, I've got no idea if I'm going to be able to use this. Oh. Oh dear, working with children and animals. And actually I will be when I return to work. Both of them are coming with me. Send all the luck. Anyway, Christmas 2021, she was meant to get the finished pair of socks, and I even took this yarn into hospital with me when I was getting ready to have Robin. I hadn't wound it, so God knows what I thought I was going to do, you know, down around the end of the hospital bed or something. You know, hook up from a couple of IVs. And then I lost it, and I really thought, because I lost a few things because I was in hospital for a few days, I really thought that I might have lost the yarn, and then as luck would have it, hello, bless you. As luck would have it, I actually found the yarn. So I thought I'll wind this up and I'll get them going because I've got all the sock mojo at the minute. So 64 stitches, 2x2 rib, top down, and I'm doing this one on magic loop because my 2 circulars were busy in my robin socks. So I actually am grabbing all the knitting time I can at the moment. I have an episode, Making Time to Make Things, which was pre-Bubba. And I was saying about taking the opportunities, being prepared, and I'm sort of taking my own advice. And so I was going up to Tesco's, which is about a 15-minute walk. And so I took this with me. I walked in the dark knitting my sock, and I had a basket on my arm in Tesco's because I only needed a few things. So I walked around Tesco's with a basket on one arm, my sock sack on the other, and knitting. I got some interesting looks, but yeah, it was fine, and I got quite a lot done. So why then was I in such an almighty rush to finish my robin socks yesterday morning if I had these socks on the go? Well, the answer is simply that Jules was coming round to take me and Robin out. And Magnus. We were going with Magnus's all-time best friend Chewy, who is a really lovely dog, Jules' dog, and they are best friends forever. It's really sweet. And we tried to roll over. Oh dear. And we were going to go out to the country park and sit and drink coffee and knit while the dogs ran around and played. And I suddenly thought, I can't take this sock because I don't want her to know I'm doing it. I want it to be a surprise, and I'm planning on giving her the finished pair of socks at EAYF, which is in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so no need to spit out your drinks there, folks. It's possible. I knit the robin socks for my husband in 2 weeks. It could be done. It could be done. And Jules has smaller feet. So there I am, frantically kitchenering. This is kitchenering. Frantically kitchenering at the toe of Robin's little socks, so that I could cast on another pair, have the needles free and cast on another pair of socks to take to the park with us. And so I cast on from West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply Winwick Mum collection. This is the 4 Seasons collection, and this one is Wildflower, which I think is summery. I cast this one on for my dad. So he is absolutely thrilled with these already. Now, this is the trick that Helen of Giddy Yarns talks about in her podcast. And it's a way of making your self-striping or your striping yarns matchy-matchy, and also making sure that you have a full colour repeat at the top. So what she does is she goes to, look, here's a colour change, that's handy, could have planned this. She goes to where the colour change is, that's where she does her slip knot, and then she does a long tail cast on for the sock, which has the effect of giving you, I don't know if I'm shoving this too close to the camera, I do apologise, but it has the effect of giving you one line of the previous colour, and then you've got the full stripe, and I think that's really effective. I mean, obviously you're going to lose some yarn because to make it matchy-matchy you need to wind off, but I just really like it. I think it creates a really neat edge, so thanks Helen for that tip. So yeah, so I cast those on yesterday, and I'm whizzing down the leg. I do a 60 stitch leg for my dad, although I might extend this one. Not 60 stitch, 60 row, and I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rows down. So what's that? Quarter of the way? Quarter of the way. I'm precisely quarter of the way down the leg. Marvellous. So I've done 15 rows of rib, and I do a much smaller cuff for me, but for other people, when I'm knitting socks properly, I do more rib. 15 rows of rib, 15 rows of leg so far. And this is this one. And this brings me to, oh, by the way, we're on works in progress. Haha. I have one more work in progress, and then I'm going to bring it back to the socks because you might have seen my little setup behind me here. It turns out I've got a bit of a thing for self-striping. Who knew? So we're going to talk about self-striping. Although we might talk about it in the next nap time. So my final work in progress is a test knit. I decided I need to work... I decided to work, I need to work in my own yarn some more, and Jackie of the Woolly Badger had the Moira Rose shawl up for testing. I've actually made a massive mistake in it. But this is in my neutral tones colourway, which is one of my standard semi-solid colourways, and it's a beautiful top-down lace shawl. It's got a lace spine, so this kind of old shell stitch spine goes all the way down the spine of the shawl, and then it has a lace border. So I'm using 2 colours. Now hers calls for a 4-ply and a floofy lace, I think, but I'm actually just using 4-ply. So I'm using neutral tones, and then at the border, I'm trying not to get this in my coffee, is going to be an oxide, and I think that's going to be super, super pretty. The deadline is the 22nd of March, but I had an issue with the pattern, and I wasn't sure if it was just me sleep deprived or if there was a problem with the pattern. Turns out it was me sleep deprived, which is always great. So I stopped work on that for a couple of days, so it's going to be a race to get that done now. But hopefully we'll get it done and it will be fine. Someone is telling me that it is lunchtime and I should not be talking to you. He's getting a bit fed up of talking to his animals, so I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will look at this and see how much of it I can actually use. Yeah, take care. Bye. That brings me on to acquisitions. Talking of stripy sock yarn, I love stripy sock yarn. I'm not going to do a featurette on it this week because I think it was a bit, when I did it in my original recording, it was a bit rushed and hurried, and also actually I realised afterwards I'd forgotten the Tales from Midnight Dyery part, the behind the scenes part that I wanted to talk about, so we're going to save that for another time. But I went into the yarn dispensary, as I mentioned, because basically my friend Jude of Stranded Dye Works has a circular sock machine. It's an Earlbacker Gearhart Speedster, before you ask. And I messaged him to say, look, if we get Marcus to send across a skein of each of his self-stripers, would you be happy to crank me basically a garland to use in the shop to display? And Jude said, yeah, absolutely. And Marcus was really chuffed with that. So we've commissioned Jude to do that. And so he got the yarn and sent me some gorgeous pictures, and then was sending me pictures of the tube as it was coming out, and I got a picture of like all of the 6 colourways sent as well. It's just snapped on his office floor, you know, in half light, so it's not like a professional photo or anything, but I sent it to my dad because I thought I might treat him to some hand-dyed self-striping because he loves his stripy socks, and he said, to be honest, he doesn't want to wear commercial socks anymore. So I thought, right, well, I'll treat you. And so he chose this one, which is the constructed peacock, and I've also picked up this one. Now this one looks really interesting in the skein, doesn't it? It doesn't look like your typical self-striper. It actually looks a bit of an ugly duckling, but like the ugly duckling, oh my god, does it make a swan. I'll put a picture here of what it's soon to be cast on. And I think that's it for, sorry, I've got hair everywhere. I think that's it for that side of things anyway. With regards to the Midnight Dyery, I'm gradually getting myself back to the dye pots. I actually went back to the dye pots for the first time last Sunday, and that's what I can talk to you a bit about. And did some more dyeing on Monday. So my first Great Yarn book and yarn boxes are actually going out in the next week, which is really exciting. And I can't show you those because obviously the colourways are a secret. Jules has bought one of the book boxes and was round. She keeps doing this. Anytime there's a secret colourway she doesn't want to see, I have to like hide things in the bathroom. And I did a really good job of hiding all the yarn so that she couldn't see it, but then there was one on the side in the kitchen and she let the dogs through out into the back garden and I'm just holding it behind my back. And she's like, are you alright? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. What's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. I'm totally fine. And then she sort of looked at me and turned away, and I opened the cutlery drawer and shoved it in. And I sent you the picture later, like, where do you keep your yarn? I can't talk to you about that, but oh my god, do you know what? I so enjoyed dyeing the yarn. A part of me was thinking, oh, you know, maybe I should just let Midnight Dyery slide. I'll do the advents and the book clubs, and I think maybe I'll call it a day after that. No, it is my happy place, and I hadn't realised just how much I'd missed it. And I've got Mina to thank for that. Mina has actually asked me to provide yarn support for a new design she's working on, and so I gave her one of my favourite DK bases to swatch with. She really liked it, and so she came over on Sunday to dye the perfect foresty green, Mina's green. I don't know what we're going to call it. I'm going to find a cool name at some point. And I've got the yarn itself is actually upstairs in a box under the bed, and I don't want to disturb my little boy, so I'm not going to show you because it goes straight into a plastic storage box to protect it from the moths. But I can show you some pictures. Mina took lots of pictures of the process, and it was so nice. So the first picture is my sketchbook skein. This is the one that you've seen on Instagram. And how I dye my yarn, I'll just put pictures up and I'll talk to you about it, like almost like a voiceover. So this is my sketchbook colourway, and how I dye my yarn is I've got little paint palettes, and I mix tiny bits of the dye, and I take a brush and I brush it onto watercolour paper to see how the colours work and to blend colours. And then I have a small teeny tiny 1 skein roasting tin. Yeah, because the inventors of roasting tins thought, how many skeins of yarn can you fit in these? Anyway, I have a 1 skein stainless steel roasting tin, and I then brush the colour directly onto the yarn to see how it works. And I'll mix up a different colour and then brush that one on, and basically what you end up with is like a rough draft of all the colours that I use to reach my final colourway. So it doesn't ever really look like the final thing. The final yarn, actually, I think I've got some pictures, is a beautiful foresty green, and it's a semi-solid kind of tonal, not variegated, whereas this sketchbook skein is very much variegated. So they are one of a kinds, can't be repeated, and they usually go into my shop, but this one I'm actually giving to Mina as a thanks for a lovely afternoon. Yeah, I really like it. I've really enjoyed it, and this colourway will be available to pre-order when the design is ready. I'll do kits and whatnot, but yeah, it's got me thinking about my new collections and bases. I'm going to be using my Tencel again, my Donegal DK, and my Merino Nylon 4-ply, so they are definitely coming back. I'm not sure about the plant-based ones. Do let me know what you think. Plant-based yarns are an absolute slog to dye. They are so much more work than the protein-based yarns, and I'm going to have to sort of reflect that. They use a lot more water, and I'm on the water meter. They use a lot more cooking, and obviously energy bills are going up, so they will, by nature of the process, be dearer than the others. But I just don't know how much call there is for them out there. So I'd love to know, you know, what do you use plant-based yarns for, if anything? Would you be interested in linen, cotton? You know, I'm not saying that if you comment, I'm going to expect you to then make a purchase later on. I'm just, in theory, does this sort of thing interest you? Market research, if you will. So yeah, so that's the Tales from Midnight Dyery section. The advent boxes are going really well. I've sold more than I thought I would. I'm really excited, and the advents are still available. So the pay-as-you-go structure is that in January I launched the first month, and you basically have 2 months to buy the first instalment, which is the cheapest way of doing it on a monthly basis. Now I've taken that down, and you've got 2 options on the website. You've got pay in full and you've got pay in instalments. So if you haven't yet bought your first instalment of your advent, what you'll be paying now is instalments 1 and 2 together, and then you'll be caught up and you'll be invoiced with everyone else for the next few months. Or there's a pay in full option, yeah, or if you want separate invoices, we can sort something out. The next listing for the Good Yarn book boxes will go up once I have shipped these ones out, because I want to use the colourways as a bit of a kind of reveal example. The books are all here. I'm just sourcing the boxes. The yarn is dyed. I've got 2 skeins. My first 2, my test skeins, weren't quite what I wanted, so I need to dye up 2 more, and then they'll be going out. So they will be going out by the end of next week, which is really exciting as well. And I'm really looking forward to the Zooms that we're going to have as part of the Great Yarn boxes. You get 6 Zoom sessions, so fortnightly Zoom sessions for 3 months, where we can discuss the book and knit or crochet or weave or whatever. But equally, you know, once the book's read, we can move on. And next year's books are going to be Carnegie Award nominated books, which I'm really excited about as well. So I mean, to be honest, I might mix it up and introduce some of those this year, because the theme that I've gone for this year is knitlet, and they're all a bit samey. It's all like typically a group of cis women, all having various crises in their lives, who are brought together through knitting. You can't seem to get away from those tropes in knitlet. So we will see. Yeah, we'll see that. Right, I'm going to wrap this up here because my poor husband is still trapped with our little one, and I promised him I wouldn't be too long. And this hasn't taken too long to record actually, and I think it'll be even easier to edit because I shouldn't have to do much editing at all, because I haven't said anything stupid, I don't think, and we haven't got little squeaks going on. But as I say, I might include some of those at the end just now so you can hear, see what I was working with before. Right, don't forget to join in the make-alongs. It's been lovely to see you all, and yeah, take care. See you next time. Bye.